Okay, so what we have here is the TEM user interface, and just to explain the layout of the software, in the upper left-hand corner, we have a series of tabs that let you control the microscope directly. As a new user, you're really only going to be interested in the autoloader, alignments, and the beam maybe, and the camera settings. The rest of the tabs you shouldn't really touch. Especially not the setup tabs unless you're getting help or really know what you're doing. So down below that, we have a series of readouts in the Autoloader tab. So that's usually where you're going to be starting your screening session. So what we have are a temperature control section that gives you information on the nitrogen level and the temperature of the various microscope components. You just want to check before you start to make sure everything is cold. It's best to do that before you load. And then below that, we have, let me close that out. Below that, we have a overview of the cassette. Right now, we have not done an inventory yet, and I'll explain that in the next video, what an inventory is. But you'll see a position for all of your grids. Beside that, we have a turbo pump control. The turbo pump is pumping down the column, and we defaulted our facility to having it always on, but before you start screening, you want to make sure it's off. If you find yourself screening and your resolution is poor, or you see a lot of vibration on the stage, it might be because your turbo pump is on. It's even after, however many screening sessions I've been through, I still forget to turn this off sometimes. So there's that. We have a vacuum status down here and a column valve uh, position button. So the column valves protect the gun from damage, and they automatically close each time you exchange a grid or exchange a cassette in the microscope. So before you start screening, you're going to want to open these up once your grid is in the microscope, and this closes automatically each time you exchange a grid. So on the right-hand side, we have a filter scale that you can adjust once you're looking at an image in the TEM interface. You generally don't need to mess with that much. I never really do. And then below that, you have a rotating series of options. Right now, it is on the stage squared menu option, which shows you an overview of your position on the grid. And I'll show you how to use that later on, but then you have a series of options where you can directly do alignments or change a series of settings. And usually you don't really need to use that much. Usually I just default to having this set to stage squared. But there are instances as a new user where you may want to adjust the alignments or the apertures from this section. But just know that they're there, and then you'll be able to kind of be more independent and work. And then the last thing is down at the bottom, we have a readout of the current magnification, the settings of the microscope as they currently are. So this is the magnification. We're at 120,000 x mag, or we don't have a screen current because the column valves are closed right now and there's no electron beam hitting our detector. We have information on the spot size, the intensity, that's the C2 lens here. The C2 lens readout, we have a focus step, which we use to adjust the focus of the microscope. The dose rate is the number of electrons that are hitting the detector at a given amount of time. So it's electrons per nanometer squared per second. Then we have information on the position on the stage. So we have an X position and a Y position that we control either through the stage squared interface here or through the joystick, which I can pull up here. So this is an on-screen representation of the control pad that would be inside view, but we can control our stage position through the joystick. And then we have a Z position, which we control over here. There is a Z height adjustment button, and we can control that there. And then we also have a stage tilt readout here, which is usually going to default to 0 degrees when you're screening. And then that's something that you'll adjust as you collect data if you need to. And then last but not least, we have in the lower left-hand corner, a readout that shows you what the various settings on the control pad do. So as you select different alignments, or as you're working with the microscopes in different ways, these control pad L1 through 3 and R1 through 3 on the right-hand side will do different things. And the definition of those is always given in the TEM user interface on the bottom left-hand side. So that is the TEM user